Y'all know what's going on. It's time for another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and welcome to the show, y'all. Look here, you could do somebody a favor in here and think everything is going to be fine because you're doing something good, trying to massage your ego, trying to, get past that little guilt that you feel for doing wrong, stuff like that, right? And I was like that. When you're doing something wrong, you try to do something to help somebody or whatever the case may be, you think that it's going to make up for all the wrong that you're doing. I did that a lot, you know what I'm saying? I had some peons that I would help out and all this and that, here and there, whatever, right? But I learned that snakes, they're not the kind, you know how a snake on the town is, right? You see, an actual pet snake. You see them, they walk, sliding around on the ground, they're sticking out their tongue, they're hissing. It's called hissing, right? But see, in here, what you got to understand about snakes in the penitentiary, they don't hiss. They play spades with you. They break bread with you. They share your drugs with you. All of these different types of things, right? That's what a snake is in here. And there was this young dude, right? Now, I was young too, you know what I'm saying? This was when I was, in my late 20s, early 30s, I'm going to say. And it was this young dude, right? We're going to call him Mike, right? We're going to call him Mike. That is actually his first name, but I'm not going to say his last name because people would know who he is. But this dude named Mike, I don't know what it was about him. You know what I'm saying? I was at the vending machine one day in the VG, and he introduced his mom to me because he was at the vending machine at the same time. And just being cordial, I said, "Hey, how you doing, ma'am?" And all this and that. And I introduced her to my girl and all this and that. And we went on about our business, right? But after that, every time he would see me out in General Pop, "Hey, Joe, how you doing?" And I'd speak, "Hey, how you doing?" Right? Some of the guys like, "You know him?" I'm like, "Not really." You know what I'm saying? I don't really know him. You know what I'm saying? He just speaks to me whenever he sees me. And I spoke to his mom in the VG and all this. And then one day I met his pops up there as well. And his pop was like, "Man, look out for my son." And I just said it out of just being kind and respectful to him. Okay. You know what I mean? But at the time, I really didn't mean it. That's just not what I did. You know what I'm saying? But something weighed on me. Something weighed on me after that. And I started to try to look out for him the best way I knew how at that time. I made sure that nobody mess with him, of course. But I would notice when I would go to his cell, he lived in another unit. I would go to his cell and he wasn't living like you should be living in the penitentiary. You know what I'm saying? His shelf was dusty and bare. Other than the state clothes, he had a couple of pair of sweatpants or whatever the case may be. Other than that, look, he going to chow every day. And I just didn't see that as how you should be living in the penitentiary. Everybody should have a hustle. You know what I mean? Because if you have to rely on the state to take care of you as far as feed you, you're going to be hungry all the time. All the time. So I asked him, I said, "Hey, man, Mike," I said, "You ain't trying to get no money?" He was like, "Yeah, but won't nobody mess with me," so on and so forth, right? I said, "I got you." I said, "Meet me on the battlefield later. I got you." I said, "What you like? Weed, cocaine, what? What do you like?" He said, "Man, I know a couple of guys that smoke." I said, "Man, I got you, right? I got you." So we go down on the battlefield, you know what I'm saying, later on that afternoon, and I was working out. I said, "As soon as I finish working out, I got you, right?" So while I'm working out, I tell bro, I said, "Go get Mike and take that to him." You feel what I'm saying? And tell him I'll pull up on him later, right? And tell him, I said, "Get his money and bring it back to me, and I'll make sure he's straight." You feel me? And bro was like, "I got you, Joe T." They always like doing favors for me, right? So they took him the bag. And I see him because he's halfway around the track. You know what I'm saying? I see him. He look over that way. I throw my hand up at him like that and wave at him. He throw his hand back up. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, yeah, this feels good. You know what I'm saying? Helping somebody, right? So Mike, he running. He getting his money. I see it. You know what I'm saying? He getting his money, right? Taking care of business, doing this thing and all this and that. So I'm thinking I've done a good deed. You feel what I'm saying? I've done a good deed. This is a good thing. Huh. So time goes on and Mike is taking care of his business. I meet his parents in the VG again and they tell me how much they really appreciate me helping Mike. Mike's not telling them I'm giving them drugs to sell, right? He's just saying, "Joe T looking out for me," and all this and that. And they notice that he's not calling home as much, asking for money or any of that type of stuff. So they were like, okay, this is what's up, So we started to get phones in. We got a couple of phones in. I let him use the phone every now and then. He helped hide them and all this old kind of stuff. And I would talk to him when I wasn't talking to my 1 and 2 and 3. I talked to him about different things that's going on and how I'm stressing about this and that. And he would give me a little advice and all this and that based on what he saw and what he knew. And then if I needed him to find out something about somebody else on the compound that I couldn't or didn't want to have brother them doing, he would do it. All of that kind of stuff, right? And then this is what really made me lock and bond to him, right? It was a situation on the compound one day. We got caught up in a riot. Riots happened in prison and all this and that, right? You know, and we beefing with another group and all this and that. And he stood back to back with us. He didn't have to do that. He wasn't to be in there. In fact, we told him, man, get away. He said, man, I'm not going nowhere, Joe T. I'm staying with you. And that impressed me. And brother was like, oh, okay then. Because we thinking, oh, he going to want to be in it one day. So we let him stay, and he took care of business. It wasn't just a standing off. It was a fight. Butcher knives out. Things going on. He didn't run, y'all. So I'm like, okay, he might have what it takes. So he hanging around and chilling with us and all this and that, right? And I'm thinking everything Gucci. Thinking everything is straight. And then one day, I started hearing rumors, right? My number 2 and number 3 coming to me telling me, you know what I'm saying, I need to watch Mike. I'm like, why? Why do I need to watch him? They said, well, you know, he around here getting in debt. I'm like, man, that's a lie. He's not in no debt. He getting money. You feel what I'm saying? Every time I drop in on him at his sale, he got plenty of commissary on the shelf, all this and that. I'm hitting him with the bag. He bringing me my money back. So, you know what I'm saying? How is he in debt? That's what I'm saying to myself. I didn't say that to them, right? I just really dismissed it, right? And I found out that he had been talking sideways to the ops. You know what I'm saying? About me. About me. Telling them things that I had told him in confidence. You know, different things that I had said about some brothers. I might be venting or something like that. I might be upset. You know, and I'll be like, man, I'm sick of this brother. He always doing this, you know. And because I had done bonded with Mike, I might say some things I shouldn't have said to him, but I never worried about it getting out. I never worried about it. But see, he was feeding this information to the op. And anytime the ops know that type of information, that's a breach. That's a weakness. They're not as tight as they appear to be. You feel what I'm saying? That would give them something to exploit. They could play that against me. You feel what I'm saying? So, it came out that he was trying to set up some deals on the side. I ain't tripping about that because he still got to come to me and get it. But he putting off like it's his. Now, this going to sound stupid, but it's the truth, right? See, when you in the penitentiary and you getting money, you don't really want people to know, but you want them to know because it plays into your reputation and your status. He that dude. Joe T that dude. You feel what I'm saying? Now, everybody knew that, but now I got somebody that's close to me that's putting on like he that dude and he really ain't that dude. If I cut off his water, it ain't nothing with him. He done. But because I had heard that on top of him telling the ops things about my business that I done shared with him, things that I knew that were true, it started to make me feel some kind of way about him. And when I felt like that, when I would say these things, you know what I'm saying, to my number 2 and number 3, they looking at me like, Joe T, that's on you for running your mouth to him. You the one opened up to him and started trusting this dude. This is a peon. You know you weren't supposed to do that. And I'm like, you right, but I don't need your chastisement right now. But now I need to figure out what I'm going to do. Well, I said, no big deal. He just stunned. You feel what I'm saying? Something inside me like give him the benefit of the doubt. So I brushed it off. And then, now let me explain something else to you. See, inside any organization, even the guys, right? It's different factions. You got your brothers from the M. You know what I'm saying? You got your brothers from Chattown. You got your brothers from Knoxville. You got your brothers from the 615. All this and that. You got your factions. And even though there is one, it's still, you know what I'm saying, these groups that everybody aligns with, you know what I'm saying, and start talking, right? So I was always more in line with 615 and the M, right? A lot of brothers thought I was from the M because of some of my mannerisms and the things that I said and did and how I conducted business in certain situations. You know what I'm saying? And then my brothers from the 615, they understood what it was. You know what I mean? So I moved like that. So, man, the ops through Mike started dropping information to my guys from the M about me, trying to make me appear to be less than, you know, not as solid as I should have been, right? And there was this one brother in particular, you know what I'm saying, from the M that he always questioned my decisions and all this and that, right? And he was like, I should be, you know what I'm saying, on the board, but I shouldn't be in charge. He always tells me, he said, Joe T, you smart, but, you know, you smart in other ways. We need somebody in charge that know the business a little bit better than you and all this and that. And I always tell him, I said, like, who? You? You know the business better than me? I said, I stand on mine with anybody. We can go toe to toe any day about the business, man. I know you ain't tight as me. I know that. I just knew that. That's just who I was. You understand? So he's standing there talking all this and that, right, all the time. So I knew when it came out that the messages, the kites, and the information is being funneled to him, and he around spreading it to other brothers, you know what I'm saying, from different areas, trying to make me look like I need to be removed. You feel me? And making it seem like that I was doing some things on the side that I ain't had no business doing, right? Like I was selling out the guys. You feel me? Like I'm doing more business with peons and the op than I am with the guy. Now keep in mind, I always had a standing policy that you get your business, your commerce, how you get your commerce. I don't make that an issue where you gotta do that with the guys. I never did that. Because I always understood if you do that, that's gonna cause problems. It always does. It's going to cause problems. So, but when they found out that I was helping a peon, willing to help a peon, and not them, now I got a problem. I got a serious problem with the guy. So I'm coming out one day, and I see some of my guys, they huddled up in the alleyway. And they got this weird look on their faces of expression I ain't never really seen from them towards me. I don't think it's towards me at this particular time, but it's weird. And I walk up there, and when I get amongst them, I'm telling you, look, the hair on my neck stood up. I said, what's up, bro? I hit him up. Like at that, right? I quickly saw him give a look to one of the other brothers. The other brother stuck up behind me. Right that time, my number two, he said, hey, Joe T. And then I seen him cup something, right? So my number two walking up, and I seen the other brother, he cupped something, put it back in his pocket. I said, hey, bro, come here. Walk with me, talk with me. So he comes down, and now my number two, me and him walking, and my number three's coming towards us, right? And I got one of the OSMs with me, right? I said, what's that in your pocket, bro? He said, what you talking about, Joe T? I said, what is that in your pocket that you had pulled out, and when bro called my name, you put up? What is that? Right? My instincts was telling me that something was finna happen to me. It was all over me. So my number three, my COS, he said, what you talking about, Joe T? I said, bro, searching. And bro looked like, what? Searching? What I need to search the bro for? I said, man, searching, bro. So my COS said, man, empty your pockets, bro. So my COS standing there, and the brother don't want to do it. He said, bro, why you ain't emptying your pocket? He said, man, I ain't got to do that, man. This ain't no big eyes and little U's. He started hitting him with all of that kind of stuff, right? So I said, okay, that's what's up. Bring him to the cell. So we get him to the cell. I said, man, go get a couple of other guys on security, bring him down here. So they ain't never seen me act like this. I never had any reason to act like this, right? So I got my COS and a couple of guys on his security staff. We all down in the unit with me at the cell. And I said, take him in there and strip him all the way down. I want to know what's in his pocket, and I want to know right now. They were like, Joe T, what's going on? And man, I'm talking about, like I said, the hair was standing on my neck. It was just something in me. I felt like they were finna try to hurt me. I just couldn't get rid of that feeling, and I needed to know if what I saw was real or fake. I needed to know. And if I would have been wrong, I was going to apologize. But I needed to know, what did I see? Did I see what I think I saw? They get him in there, the bro bucked him. They flipped him. They go in his pocket. He had it in his back pocket. He got a poker. He got a poker. Bro and them seen the poker. They're like, what was you doing with this, bro? And then he gave up the business. Some of the brothers had decided to go on and pop Joe T down. That's what he tell them. And I said, what? Denied? On whose authority? Because you got to always ask that question, right? Because they might have got authority from somebody. They said, on whose authority? It's got to be somebody above. It's got to be somebody over the state or somebody on the board. You understand that will sanction that. Brothers can't just on their own come up with that and decide to do that. You understand what I'm saying? You can't do that. That's a coup. You can't do that. So this young brother, he don't understand all that, right? They were using and manipulating him, so he give up the business to save himself. To save himself. So brother them write them all up and deal with them. And lo and behold, as the investigation is going on, my COS was tight. He was tight. As the investigation is taking place, he's finding out that this is stemming from Mike running his mouth to the ops, and the ops taking that information and feeding it to some of the guys. You understand what I'm saying? That they already done heard through Mike, because I'm complaining to him about the issues that I'm having with these brothers. They know exactly who to target to try to get me. They knew exactly who to target to get me because of my mouth. My mouth. And they tried it. Brother them tried me. So now, I got something to do. I got to confront this. I got to face this head on. Because if I don't, everybody's going to read this the wrong way. And I'm going to have problems from here on out. I'm going to have big problems. But it's no way to really prove it. The ops ain't going to confess to it and all this and that. You feel what I'm saying? But I know what I told Mike. I know what I told him. So when I finally confronted him, he denied it. He denied it. He just looked at me and said, Joe T. Now, I got him in the room by myself, okay? But he looked at me, he said, Joe T, that lifestyle you live, that's just part of the business. Now, I ain't never heard him talk like that. It was real cold and methodical. He said, business. I said back to him, I said, business? You think this is how it goes? This is just business? He looked at me, he was like, yeah. And he said it was something so cold about it, it made me feel like I was a stranger to him. That I hadn't done anything to help him. I hadn't been there for him or anything. It was real, real cold. Real, real cold. And I just stared at him. I'm like, wow. It seemed like it was a long time, but it was just a few seconds, right? And if you want to know how this turns out, please tune in to the next episode, because it's going to get good. You're going to really learn something from this, right? This has been another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and I say peace, y'all.